Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Then we can be assured that other nations will not treat America with respect, the respect that we deserve.
What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video, and today, it is time that we do another deep dive into the other major Pennsylvania race happening this year. I know, we just talked about the Senate race, I know, but today we're going to be talking about the governorship, because there's been some huge developments in the race just as of today, and they're so big that I have to discuss them right now. Now, before we get into today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, of course, go follow that mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And, yeah. So let's get right into it, folks. No bullshit, no more promotion stuff. Let's get right into it. So Trafalgar has just conducted another poll in Pennsylvania, and it shows Mastriano at 27.6%. 27.6%. That's exactly a 10-point lead over Barletta. And boy, oh boy, there's been some black pills from a lot of people in the election community, the election mafia, whatever you want to call these people, about the Pennsylvania governorship. It's over! We're gonna lose the governorship! Says the electabros, the loser right, whatever you want to call these people. These people, they've been wrong so many times already this year. I mean, they said J.D. Vance can't win. They said Mandel would win Appalachia. It's like these people are crazy. And this poll does show, not the best case scenario for Republicans in Pennsylvania. And here is why. So these are the candidates, all right? There's really only 4 candidates that do matter in this race. I don't give a crap about, Joe Gale. I mean, he's decent, but it's like, I don't care. You have no chance of winning, so nobody cares about you. Figuratively, but for real. There are 4 main candidates in this race. Lou Barletta, Doug Mastriano, William McSwain, and Dave White. Now, in my opinion, this is a very good bench of candidates. These are 3 great candidates, or good, what do you want to call them? And the other one is a loser. But the point is this: there are 3 good candidates in this race. In my opinion, one of these guys should have, jumped up to the Senate race, but whatever. So the 3 good candidates I would consider is Lou Barletta, Doug Mastriano, and Dave White. Now, if you don't know, why William McSwain sucks, just go look up his record. He has some bad skeletons in the closet. Just go look it up. But either way, this is the current state of the race. It appears there's a kind of a 3-way, race forming between Doug Mastriano, Lou Barletta, and Dave White. Now, why are people freaking out about Doug Mastriano if he's like such a good candidate? In my opinion, he is a good candidate. I think he's just overrated and he has some bad issues, and not for the reasons about to say. So the electabros, the loser right, whatever you want to call these people, their issue with Doug Mastriano is they don't consider him electable. Why? Well, go look up his Wikipedia page. I know it's biased and some bullshit, but either way, it all relates to what happened in 2020 for the election, You don't know who Doug Mastriano is. He was a big figure in the, a certain, hearing during the, Pennsylvania, election contest. I think it was like November 30th or something like that. It was a famous one. Essentially, he was the main guy pushing for the election stuff. Here's the issue, though. That sounds good and all, right? I would say, okay, that's reasonable. The problem? He is one of the reasons that, we went to that situation. He supported the, universal mail-in crap. He voted in favor of it. Then suddenly he had a change of heart and wanted to reform voting. That's my issue with Mastriano. Mastriano is running a good campaign. I do think he would be a decent candidate. I mean, these people saying that, Mastriano can't win in a general, they're full of themselves. Mastriano can have great turnout, all right? He is a turnout machine, in my opinion. But either way, he does have some negatives. As for Lou Barletta, he was a great congressman, one of the first people to support Trump, and Dave White's also a pretty good guy as well. So it's not that none of these guys are bad except McSwain. It's just, I would say the wrong candidate is winning. Not because I don't think he's, good or anything like that. I just think, he's overrated, he's just not as good as people say he is. But here's the thing, though. Just like with Ohio, I think we're going to be suffering a huge polling miss in Pennsylvania for the governorship in particular. I know that may sound counterintuitive, like, hey, your three favorite candidates, not in the order I would want it to be, are, in the lead. Why are you thinking there's be a polling miss here, just like Ohio? The same thing is happening in the polls. You know what I'm talking about. I said this before the, Ohio races. The polls were going to be off by a lot. And they were. J.D. Vance up by 1/4 point. He won by 8 or 9 points. Right as I predicted. I predict that spot on, by the way. So yeah, either way, this race, I think there's going to be a big polling miss. And I think the polling miss is either going to favor Barletta or Dave White. Now, again, this may sound crazy. Okay. Mastriano's so far ahead, how can he potentially lose if it's such a, polling miss? I think they're missing too many voters for this to be a 10-point lead. If there is a lead for Mastriano, I think it's closer to 3 or 4 points. Kind of like the same miss most pollsters had in the Ohio race. And here is why. So let's go back, just go back here. This is the 2012 election. And I know this is not the best way to do it, but this is probably the easiest way to show you guys what I'm talking about. So you see here, look at the western part of the state, okay, of Pennsylvania. Romney did awful in a lot of these counties. These are very rural, working class voters. A lot of these counties, I think Mercer voted for Al Gore by 12 points. It's like, yeah, this is Gore country, all right? A lot of these counties voted for Gore. But here's the thing, though. They're not Democrats anymore. You know what happened? A certain orange man kicked down the door. And he made this part of the state, which for years was a Democrat stronghold, into a Republican stronghold. Look at this. He won Mercer County, the same county, by 24 points. Romney, he won it by 3. So you're noticing something here. Just like Ohio with Northwestern Ohio, there's a lot of these new voters to the Republican Party in this part of the state. I would say the western half of the state. This is the part of the state that there's a lot of new Trump voters. You can see this here. Also, in this part of the state as well. This is another very working class part of the state that has a lot of blue dog Dems in this part of the state. You have Luzerne County, Lackawanna, Monroe, etc. This is where Joe Biden, was born for, and lived there for a day. But either way, this is a former Democrat part of the state, and look how Democrat some of these counties got. Sherko, look at this. Trump won this by 23. Romney, he won by 13. So you're noticing there's a lot of different voters, and the same thing can apply to places like Chester. Let's see here. Trump lost this county by around 9. Romney won it by, 0.2 of a percentage point, but he still won it. And this is what I think's happening, just like in Ohio. For years, the Republican stronghold was never, rural, central Pennsylvania. It never was. It was always Delaware County, Montgomery County, Chester, the suburbs of Philly, and Bucks County, its own, little weird county. It's strange. But either way, this was a part of the state that Republicans got all their votes from. And sure, they did okay in places like, Bedford County. But, it's not a lot of votes. Most of the votes came from the Philly suburbs. There's a lot of Republicans here that voted for Bush, but voted for Obama, then Clinton, then Biden. So that's what I'm saying here, folks. The Republican Party is changing, just like in Ohio. Ohio, what they did, what the polling miss was, they only polled voters in the Columbus area, or the Columbus suburbs, the Cleveland suburbs, which again, they should have, done more, rural Cleveland, or what do you want to call it, Cuyahoga, whatever. And they pulled a little bit in Cincinnati. The problem? They pulled nothing from Appalachia. That's where the Republican vote was beginning to, form. A lot of Trump voters in those parts of the state that never voted Republican primary, but did then. And again, the same thing can apply to Pennsylvania. Again, Westmoreland, Romney won by 24. Trump, he won by 31. This is a blue-collar suburb of Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of votes in the western half of the state that they haven't voted Republican primaries ever. But this is the first time they will. And they're listening to Trump. If Trump endorses Oz, again, some of them will grudgingly do it, but a lot of them will vote for Oz. So again, this is what's happening. The polls are missing these parts of the states, just like in Ohio. And that's why I do think, while Mastriano probably has a lead, it's probably not as big. Because here's the thing, though. If Trump was to, endorse somebody, all right, if it's Lou Barletta, Barletta would win immediately. And Barletta has been running a good campaign. He's actually been doing a lot of events in that part of the state. Mastriano, on the other hand, I think what's happening is there's a lot of those boomer cons, in the eastern half of the state, which, still had a good, for years was a Republican part of the state. He's getting a lot of those boomer con types, they're like huge Trump fans, but they don't represent the entire Republican base. And that's why things happening. They're oversampling, college educated voters. That's what I think's personally happening. And even Emerson, which again, I said the same thing about what they did in Ohio. According to Emerson, all right, around 60% of the electorate is, does have a college degree. For Pennsylvania, that's a bit low. It is kind of a very low mark, in my opinion. Again, Ohio was like 63 for the general. This is 60 for Pennsylvania. It should be closer to 65 or 66. And according to Emerson, that's the group that Barletta does best with, working class voters. It's a very strange thing, but that's what appears to be happening. Those Republican voters that are like huge Trump fans, but they've been Republican voters for years. They are pulling heavily in favor of Mastriano, but I just think the polls are missing too many voters in the western half of the state that there's going to be a big polling miss. And Mastriano probably still does win in the end of the day. But again, it is showing that these polls are not picking up on the working class voters of the state, which again, I could be wrong about this. I would not, I may be looking too much into it. That could be the case. But again, apply the same thing that we did to Ohio, and you probably get a 6-7 point miss, just like in Ohio. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, of course, go follow that mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.